Hello my soccer universe. It is really not hard after this week in the Champions League to define the winners and the losers of this round. I mean, the low countries top, Serie A absolutely flop, and it still angers me how Milan managed to lose the game against Feyenoord, and you can see an entire rant by me on that topic. We probably have seen it because it was a very popular video. And I want to try to keep it a little bit calmer here. But yeah, Tuesday, I have to say, yes, I was angered by Milan and then a little bit disappointed by Atalanta. But overall, the other two games were really entertaining. I just couldn't really enjoy them. Whereas Wednesday was kind of meh. But we were treated to an overtime game that actually was quite dramatic between PSV and Juventus. It's another Italian team out. So yeah, my losers of this round very clearly Serie A, Serie A, Serie A, Serie A. I mean, Serie A have no chance, I would argue, to get a fifth spot for next season's Champions League. That is now gone to La Liga with all three teams out and all of them in the rather damning circumstances. All three were favored, honestly, and it also speaks volumes that the only two non-city teams in this round were two teams that were facing Italian opponents that moved on. Feyenoord and Club Brugge were two other big winners, of course. Another sneaky loser have to be the Bundesliga teams. Dortmund really not doing well, 0-0 draw, and Bayern almost got taken to overtime by Celtic. That is an opponent that Dortmund just a few months ago beat by 7 at home. Tells you how far the Bundesliga teams have fallen at the moment as well. And then the last one, of course, Manchester City, because they were never really in the game at Real Madrid. And that conversely brings us to the winners. Real Madrid, not only have they had a great performance with Mbappe shining, the pathway also, when I look at it, they will be favored almost against everybody until the semi-final, and I think by that time we'll know probably a little bit more. I can very well see Real Madrid going deep and potentially even winning this competition again, because that's what they just do. And on the other side, other winners are of course Ligue 1. They have two teams, that's one team more than Serie A, and with PSG they have a side that I fancy at this moment, although PSG have to play a really tough opponent. And then the Low Countries. Eredivisie got both teams on, both were unfancied against the Italian opposition, and Club Brugge show again that they are really tough out, and I think whoever faces Club Brugge is probably in for a little bit of a surprise. Enough of me rambling, let's review these games, and I promise, no rant. Well, let's try to summarize Milan's shameful exit to Feyenoord in somewhat calm manner. I still keeps my blood boiling to be honest to talk about it, but yeah. It started out well. Milan actually from the kick-off attacked, got a corner kick from the corner kick. It's played to Pulisic, cross in. Jar heads it over and Jimenez outjumps the Feyenoord defender from a short distance, gets it into the net, and Duli does not celebrate. He actually apologized to the Feyenoord fans. But Milan off to a great start. He had already equalized. And what followed in the first half was one-way traffic. True, the longer the half went on, the less Milan seemed dangerous. But you could really see that comments made by Reed on Leao. Leao was really out to show what a great player he actually is. And again, maybe a little bit too selfish. But the same thing can be said for Theo, who also had some really great runs, but sometimes a little bit too selfish. The biggest chance was of course when Theo, after Joao Felix shot got parried, got the ball in the box and then hit the outside of the post, although potentially this was even offside. But Milan had Feyenoord squarely in the back. There was barely anything coming from Feyenoord, and it really looked like that it's only a matter of time until Milan break down Feyenoord for the second goal and move on to the next round. It was that one-sided. In the second half, even the first 5 minutes, same picture. Until Theo, as I said, decides to dive after he had already gotten a yellow card just before the halftime break because he had to push down an opponent. It is so stupid and galling, but I have made a rant video on that. And, if I was from a neutral perspective watching, I would say, well, Milan made it a little bit more interesting because now the game was more level. Feyenoord had a man more. Milan actually really reacted slowly to that, especially Conceição, of what to do now that the left side, all your attacking threat came mostly over the left side. That is gone. And, when he made the changes, he took off Pulisic and Santi Jimenez, the two attackers that work hard. I mean, if you're a man less, Leao is a threat, but João Felix, I think he seems to be really the new favorite child of Sergio Conceição, but he's not one that puts in a shift working hard. This was one thing that I didn't understand. I also didn't understand the way he brought players on. Yes, Bartesaghi came on maybe to give a little bit more on the left side, to let Musa go more in his natural position. But Bartesaghi, he's a young player, didn't really deliver on that one as well. But, you cannot replace the threat that Theo has going forward. And, around the 65th, 70th minute, you could feel that Feyenoord are feeling it. They brought on Carranza, and it's an Bueno cross in, and Carranza heads it in from a short distance, and it's 1-1. And then you need, with a man less, try to get that winning goal. And to your credit, you got a couple of chances, nothing really that troubled Wellenreuther, but I thought the header from Shaw was not a bad one, but directly at the goalie, who just has to stand there. And so the exit afterwards, there was also Bustov that got sent off, and I think Leao got a yellow card for that one as well. So you did not shower yourself in glory on that night, and it looked all so good. And Theo Hernandez, literally, Conceição, I have to blame him because his substitutions to me made little to no sense. But if you lose Theo Hernandez the way you lost him, it is on him. It's 80% on him and the rest on the rest of the team. And it's a team sport. It's really hard to pinpoint for one player. But yeah, that's how it is. Milan are out. Well, like Milan, Atalanta is also out of the Champions League, losing at home to Club Brugge 3-1. And that game was over after half an hour almost. And that is a true surprise, because I really expected Atalanta to press and absolutely kill Club Brugge, especially after what happened in the first leg. But they were just too eager, and they got caught out on a counter-attack. And young Talbi scored already in the 3rd minute the go-ahead goal for Club Brugge, which meant that Atalanta had to come out even more and again get caught on a counter-attack. And it's again Talbi who scores the 2nd goal. Absolutely crazy stuff. And yes, it really felt for most of the time that the ball for Atalanta just didn't want to go over the line. Or as for Retegi's equalizer, is chalked off by an offside. So yeah, was definitely not Atalanta's night. And like in Bruges in the second half, the ball didn't want to go over the line. When it was 2-0, there was a situation where I think they hit the post and there were a few goal line clearances. And then Jude Glas in stoppage time with a brilliant shot makes it 3-0. Everyone knew that the writing is on the wall, because Atalanta now needed to score 4 to just go into overtime. And you still felt that this might be in them, because this Atalanta team has a lot of power. However, defensively, they are really decimated, and that is probably what is hurting them most. Gasparini tried. He brought on Lukman for Pajalic at the halftime, and within a minute, Lukman had put one back. And then they had the big chance. There was a goal scored, but Lukman scored it with his hand. And so the preceding foul resulted in a penalty that Lukman saved. And that more or less killed the game. You knew that Atalanta is not gonna come back from this one. And then later on the nerves got high. Toloi got himself sent off in such a stupid manner when the Kalpas is basically slightly harassing him, and he just got mad and wanted to throw the ball on his head, but he completely undid this. He couldn't even hit the ball. He fell down, and I guess because this looked so stupid, he said, I'm gonna get myself sent off, that no one is ever talking about this again. Really gutting loss for Atalanta, and I would say this one was even more surprising than Milan's loss to Feyenoord. But Tuesday didn't let up with surprises. Of all the matches on Tuesday, the one that I thought will never go to overtime was Bayern Munich against Celtic. Well, we were very, very, very close to that one. Celtic had a 1-0 lead going to stoppage time in the last minute of stoppage time. Alphonso Davies gets an equalizer and moves Bayern into the next round. But boy, this was hard work. Yes, Bayern had more of the game, but Celtic really harassed the defense and created quite some chances for themselves. matched them on level terms, and Bayern were really surprised about that. This shows you there's a very weak underbelly to this Bayern side that can be gotten at, even by a team as small. I know Celtic is a huge club, but coming from Scotland, they're a much smaller club than Bayern Munich if you just look at expenditure, not necessarily fan base, because their Celtic is not too far away from Bayern, I would argue. Bayern, as I said, may have had more of the game and tried to create some chances, but it was rather lackluster. It was slow playing. The biggest one came through Harry Kane, who headed it just before halftime onto the crossbar. He had to come off because he's still not quite fit, and then Kingsley Coman is on. Honestly, not much happening from the Bayern side, and then they get caught out on a counter-attack. Or was it even a counter-attack? I mean, Maeda plays a ball that is then tackled by Kim into Kühn, who just had played for Rapid Vienna. I mean, I remember him seeing for Rapid Vienna and thinking, he's quite good, and he scores the go-ahead goal for Celtic, and you couldn't believe your eyes. And honestly, Maeda in the first half already probably should have given Celtic a lead. It was cleared off the line, and then Bayern try. It was then a little bit of a power play, and it's Alphonso Davies with a goal. It's just, it was a Goretzka header that's parried to the side by Schmeichel, and then a Celtic defender wants to clear it to the side, but Davies was really looking out for that clearance and intercepted it more or less into the net. It stumbled over the line. Absolutely mad result, to be honest. And the inquest on Bayern Munich is getting hotter. Easily the best game on Tuesday evening was, of course, Benfica 3, Monaco 3. Benfica is probably the most entertaining side in the Champions League at this moment. But, I'm not sure how long they can kick on if they concede so many goals. But I also feel that Monaco will feel hard done by that red card in the first leg. They basically took away their chances of having 4 evenly matched halves against Benfica, because it's that one goal that in the end made the difference. Monaco really came out storming and created quite a few chances. However, they get caught out on a counter-attack in the 22nd minute, where Pavlidis plays then over to Aktürkoğlu, slots it in 1-0, but Monaco not to be deterred, and Minamino just 10 minutes later gets the equalizer after Mbolo assist, and Mbolo had probably the unluckiest day of all of the strikers. I think he hit once the post, and then he had a really good chance where he was nicely assisted by Akliouche and then pulled a shot far over the bar that should have probably made it 2-1. However, it is then Akliouche and Benseguir who combine in the 51st minute to give Monaco the 2-1 lead, and you thought game on and Monaco is gonna push now because they really had Benfica seemingly in the back. However, it's then Benfica who come up and created more chances. So the game was really ebbing and flowing. And may I just say, what a gorgeous jersey matchup that was, because the dark green Monaco jerseys matched so nicely with the red and the white of Benfica. And it's then Thilo Kehrer, who already looked not so good on the first goal, I thought. And the whole Monaco defense didn't look good on the first goal. That gives away a penalty. Was a clear penalty, unfortunately, for them. And Pavlidis in 76 minutes equalizes. Benfica move on again. And then came an absolutely crazy end to the game, where Adi Hütter brings Ilini Kena on, and within a minute of him coming on, he runs on goal, makes it 3-2 Monaco. Again, game on. But Benfica hit back with a beautiful Crossima Carreras de Kökçü, just with the outside of his foot lobs over the goalie. Kind of a flat lob over there. Was really beautifully played. And then Monaco tries they might cannot get another equalizer on aggregate. In fact, there was a penalty given for Benfica where I really didn't see why it was called off. But yeah, it was a great game. I felt a little bit sad for Monaco, to be honest. But this Benfica side is so much fun to watch, so it's good that they will move on to the next round. Let's see how they will do against either Liverpool or, of course, Barcelona. Having already a 3-0 lead from the first leg, there really was not much to be expected from Dortmund against Sporting, except that, maybe get a little bit of credibility back after the 2-0 loss to Bochum. However, the game was atrocious watch. There was really not much happening. The biggest one was a penalty, a foul on Adeyemi that then Guirassy saved, and of course an Emre Can goal that was chalked off for offside. But yeah, Dortmund move on easily, never being in trouble, but also never being convincing. They may have been the best story of this Champions League, at least the league phase. However, Brest were completely outmatched by PSG, losing 7-0 in the return leg. And we really have to wonder, is this PSG team now for real, or was Brest just too weak? I would say it is okay to lose at PSG, lose even big, but conceding 7, does not paint a pretty picture, but I think PSG just went riot all over them. And it was actually a tight affair where there was really not much to play for. PSG already holding a 3-0 lead from the first leg. Barcola opens the scoring in the 20th minute and Kvaratskhelia before the half adds another one. Again, assisted by Barcola. That's how you properly pronounce him. And then in the second half, all the floodgates open. Vitinha, Desiree Doué, Nuno Mendes, Gonzalo Ramos and even Mayulu get in on the action. Absolute one-way traffic. And even the one goal that Brest scored was disallowed for an offside as well. So really not going well for Brest. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for the big win at Salzburg as well. But yeah, PSG, watch out for them, and they are facing a really big opponent. So the top match of the round of 16 will definitely involve PSG. The only game with some real jeopardy on Wednesday evening was of course PSV against Juventus, with Juve having a thin 1-goal lead, and it ends with 3-1 win for PSV in overtime. It's also the third Italian team ousted by a team from the Low Countries, and I'm absolutely certain they're taking it really well in Italy. And I think Juve is a little bit to blame for that one as well, because in the first half, while it was not a great game, PSV didn't really have a shot on goal, but Juventus controlled that game and kept it tight, was playing actually actively forward without creating great chances. I mean, there was one by Cambiasso and there was one by Colomuani, but it seemed like Juventus will just get this result home. However, in the second half, PSV came out with a whole lot more attitude and created more chances. The game opened up and that allowed us chances on both sides. However, it was also Noah Lang who really hit the next level in the second half, with a brilliant pass to Perisic in the 53rd minute, where Perisic just controls it with one touch and with the other one puts it in the net. A really brilliant goal, levels the score on aggregate. However, Juve were not outdone up until this point, and there was a free kick in that is cleared, and Timothy Weah from the edge of the box scores an absolute screamer. It's 1-1, although there was a little nervy moment because the goal was first called off for offside, but there was no offside in the bill, at least no active one. But the longer the game went, the more it tilted towards PSV, who just had more energy, and it also didn't help that Thiago Motta made a whole lot of substitutions, whereas Peter Bosz already was planning on overtime and held a little bit back. One substitution that really worked was being on Hustil. Few minutes later then was attacked again. Perisic, who is the thorn in the side of Juventus here, makes a cross in that Luc de Jong cannot really control. It goes through, but Luc de Jong binds 3 Juventus players and they forget about Saibari. 74th minute, it is 2-1 for Eindhoven, who were then even pushing for the winning goal in regulation. However, it was not to be. Also interesting is that Motta took off Colomuani and brought on Vlahovic. Colomuani had a few chances. He was the most dangerous player for Juventus. I hope he was gassed and not any tactical reasons for that. The overtime period started with a whole lot of pressure from PSV, who already had a pretty big chance through Sabari 2 minutes after kickoff. And they then take the lead after there were some really rough tackles by Juventus there as well. Especially Savona on Luc de Jong was straddling the line between yellow and red. I think yellow was just about okay. But then it was a free kick, gets into the box, and Juventus completely let Bakayoko do whatever he wants. He takes a shot that Gatti wants to clear, but it clearly goes on to goal. And Di Gregorio parries it forward, and then it's Kefren Thuram who completely forgets about Flamingo, who taps it into the net. Go ahead goal for PSV, and it was fully deserved at that point. However, Juve came back again and had a huge chance where Vlahovic hits the post just before the end of the first overtime period. Second half, Juve really tried a whole lot, but they cannot find a breakthrough or a clear chance for that matter. And I would say PSV deservedly go through after they were completely outplayed in the league phase by Juventus. Anyone who ever thought that Manchester City, after the good performance against Newcastle, will bounce back and go and match Real Madrid was gravely mistaken. This was all Real Madrid, to be honest, and the 3-1 scoreline doesn't even begin to describe how one-sided that game was. It was the Kylian Mbappe show, who scores a hat-trick and was the star of the show, and only late on Nico pulls one back for City in garbage time when his tie was already settled. Started early on for 54th minute, Asensio long ball onto Mbappe, who then lobs it over everyone. It's 1-0 Real Madrid, and literally no coming back. Even worse, John Stones had to come off in the 8th minute, and Nathan Ake came on. The second goal by Mbappe was a beautiful combination via Rodrigo. I mean, Vinny on the right, plays it to Rodrigo, goes past the defender, plays it into Mbappe, who steps past another defender into the net. This was one of my favorite goals of the entire Champions League week. And then Valverde assists Mbappe in the second half for his hat-trick. Well, so we know now 8 teams moving on into round 16, joining the 8 top seeds, and we already know where the unseeded teams will be placed in the bracket, as I show you here in this graphic. And therefore, in the draw, we just decide who goes where. And so let's look at the pots. We know Liverpool and Barcelona will play against either PSG or Benfica. We then have Feyenoord and PSV facing either Arsenal or Inter. One of them will have to play an Italian team again. Inter might be the toughest challenge. However, Inter also have not been great as of late, so I guess they will fancy their chances. Then we have Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, 2 really big names having to face Atletico Madrid or Bayer Leverkusen. Arguably, both would be favored, although I wouldn't see why Bayern Munich should be favored over either of these 2 teams the way they have been playing. And then lastly, Club Brugge and Dortmund will face either Lille or Aston Villa. Of course, those will be the least fancied pairings, but it also makes sense because those are the ones that faced in either Liverpool, Barcelona or PSG, and I don't really want to discount now Benfica, but I don't see Benfica moving on against either one of these. The draw, of course, will be held on Friday lunchtime, and I will make a short reaction video after that one as well. Premier League fans are probably rubbing their eyes when we look at the favorites. Arsenal ahead of Liverpool. We already had Arsenal ahead last time around. It's all because Liverpool has the potential of facing PSG. This is also what keeps Barcelona a little bit back. Real Madrid now being through move all the way into 3rd place in those standings. Inter just behind ahead of Barcelona. And again, Barcelona have a relatively tough route into the quarterfinals should they face PSG. The other teams, Bayern Munich, I think is a very credible 7th spot right ahead of Leverkusen. Sounds about right. And then the remaining teams are outsiders. However, you never know with these as well. So that concludes my review of the return legs of the playoffs. What a disaster for Serie A. I mean, not only am I a Milan fan, and don't get me wrong, I mean my 2 favorite nations that I follow are Italy and the Netherlands. So for me, I can see both of them. I like the Eredivisie as well, but of course I'm way more of a Serie A fan. That actually hurt, because you know, this league you always feel gets short shrift, and I grew up with that being the best league in the world, so it is very unusual. But yeah, they all lost, deservedly so. And that is the really damning thing. And the only team that I really felt had a chance of ousting opponent was Milan. They threw it away by a single person. And, you know, let's not go over that one again, because that will be another rant. I'm curious how this will be going forward. I really want to see now who will face PSG, because this PSG team looks dangerous, and I really want to see what they're made of. And if they face Liverpool or Barcelona, I think this is going to be a fun matchup. Although I honestly would like to see Barcelona face Benfica in a way, because that was such a fun game the first time around. So let's see. In any case, please let me know your thoughts on the Champions League, not only the games but also how you see it going forward. Give me a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this video, I will record a reaction video on the draw tomorrow, and then maybe get the Europa League and Conference League videos out later. I will talk to you very soon about my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!